Okay, good. Sometimes I try to make things and it just doesn't work out. It could be writer's block, it could be underestimating the amount of time it would take to make something and then finding out later on it's not enough time. But I had a real clear mission on Thursday going into yesterday. And the intention was that I would either put up one of two edited videos. It either would be Nixon Part 2 or this other video that's kind of more, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like we can't go back, just like venting about all the different lousy things going on, very autobiographical. But I said it's going to be one of these two videos, and this past morning, yesterday morning, I was writing the script for the other one because I figured it wouldn't take as long. I'm just going to use like this one backdrop I have, and I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't finish writing it. I still have it open right now, one of my other tabs. It's about 5 pages. But as hard as I tried, as much as I thought, okay, I know this, and put this, okay, let's make this point, just couldn't hack it. And I pledge I tried as hard as I could. I wanted it to come out yesterday. Um, but once we got to the early afternoon portion of the day, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to finish that. And I don't ever want to, because like I set deadlines for myself, right? Like I'd like for Nixon Part 2 to come out before the month is out. I think it will. I edited about a quarter of it or about a sixth of it, you know, this past, like maybe like 3, 4 hours ago. And I'm off today, so I do intend to, do more editing on it. But I never want to get to a point where I'm trying to make things by a certain day to where it feels like, okay, come on, come on, we gotta, because I want with a lot of this stuff, I want to take my time writing the script. I want to make sure it conveys whatever points I'm trying to make. If it's something like the other video I was talking about, and even with the documentary, I I have the script written for it, but I don't want to just bogart and rush through editing it because sometimes when you rush through editing, there might be mistakes that you didn't pick up on. And I'm trying. I am trying as much as I can. Dio, I don't know what is up with you and your very irregular appearances. If you don't like my channel, just say it. Just tell me that you have a restraining order against my content to where it only appears in your feed every was it 3, 4, 5 months? I want you to be honest. Don't pretend like you like me. We have dumb women that do that. We don't need dumb men doing that too. Oh, excuse me. We have dumb women who do that, and we have dumb men who do that. We don't need Do joining in on the stupidity. I consider doing a video about that, but I don't really talk about rap or just music in general. Besides our goddess Taylor Swift. So I'll probably, I don't know, because I always said if I was going to do any singer like a documentary on it, it'd probably be Michael Jackson, or Frank Sinatra. So if I were to start doing that, I'm trying to think of how long would it take me to get to like any rappers. And the problem with a lot of these people is we don't really have accredited print sources for a lot of this stuff where you would just have to go and like watch some interview they did, or it's a lot harder to just have all the information in one place. But yeah, I didn't bother with it. Yeah, well, as things currently stand, uh, it was my intention that once I finish with the LBJ Nixon FDR and Carter documentaries, then it's going to be like open season. I'll just go and jump to other stuff. But again, I'm nowhere near finished with most of them, so I'm trying to like actually stay the course with the four I already have. Because my thing is, I don't want to get started on like 15 or 20 different projects that don't come to fruition. But yeah, if I ever do any musicians, he will be at the top of the list. Him and the Beatles and Jackson. I mean, he will definitely be in top contention. Now I've got this one video I'm working on. Just man, when you write the script for some of this stuff, it just gets so hard to like come up with everything you want to say. Just leave no stone unturned. You're firing on all cylinders. It's difficult to do that a lot of times because I just start thinking about, okay, did I say this right? Did I make that point? And that's what causes me to just sort of retract. Because there's a portion in there where I was talking about the whole woman thing, and I said, what I'm running into now more than ever before are these chicks that'll say they like me romantically, but then they live in other, states, countries. And I was making the point that there's really no incentive on my end to reciprocate their crap because if I agree to, in quotations, date someone who is hundreds of thousands of miles away, who I cannot touch or do anything physical with at all, it basically is the same as not being with anyone. It's like, oh, you get to call this person and talk nasty to them. Ooh, never done that before. Just it doesn't have any weight behind it. It's not really appealing, at least to me at this point. Because unfortunately, we run into so many instances where they will sit there and pretend to want to date you, and then it's all just trash, nothing but lies. So one of my favorite moments of Dio was back in July when he found out that Biden wasn't going to run for another term, and he was just bawling. His eyes were covered in tears. I mean, he couldn't believe it. He said, "What have they done?" Yeah, I'm just kind of fatigued with this stuff. I think it's just a trick so they eventually want you to send them money or be a shoulder to cry on. I don't know about the money aspect of it because I've never had any of well, I said before, the only woman I ever dated ended up being the biggest gold digger in US history because after agreeing to date her, she would keep asking me for money over and over, and I just wouldn't budge and just eventually like cut it all off, period. Um, but even if they're looking for a shoulder to cry on, I still don't see where there's an advantage for me to be involved with them in that way. If one of the things people look forward to when they're in a supposed relationship with someone is physical intimacy, like actually being able to hold the hand or just hug the person they're with or whatever else. And you can't do any of that with this person because of how far away they are. What's the point? Seriously, like what is the incentive to be attracted to or wanting of being involved with that person in that way if you don't have any ability to actually do something with them that a couple would do that's not just talking, then what's the point? That's why when I brought up the coworker thing, right, where I had this coworker, I asked her if she wanted to go see a movie. Everybody tries to pretend it was romantic, but it wasn't because I've gone to see movies with guys before and nobody says I'm trying to date them. I was explaining that if I meet someone, some woman, just an example, who does not want to have a family, does not want to, do any of like the long-term stuff, if just in the abstract, right? So like this is someone I would not have any possible chance of, actually being able to further this with in some meaningful way in terms of what I would like to see. But if she wanted to go and see a movie or go to the mall and, we live in the same city, it's really not that big of a deal. Just go, okay, yeah, whatever. We can just hang out. But if you're talking about some woman that lives in the UK and you're in the US and she thinks you're going to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars to go and sit across from her at a restaurant, she out of her damn mind. I just couldn't imagine like actually doing that. Oh damn, where'd I put the? Did I lose the damn cloth to clean my glasses? Really? Oh wait, no, here it is. I was like, I know I always put that in the same place. There's no way that thing would be somewhere else. But you understand my point that if you're going to keep meeting these online girls who only will say that they like you, but then they're against doing the long-term things that a long distance romance would typically have accompanying it, then there's no point in engaging with it. Let me get the. There we go. No, but that's one of the things I bring up in the video. I just said I at this stage, you need more than someone saying they like you to get you excited because they've said all types of stuff before and done so very little that you just can't be excited, you know, at people just saying things. There needs to be an action that accompanies it. Got this one relative trying to call me at. He was like, "What time do you wake up in the morning?" I was like, "I usually don't." Like my job always has me coming in during the afternoon, so I try to sleep during the morning. People are really crazy. That's the worst part about using these whenever I do a stream, just the reflection. But no, I was really disturbed by the priorities as well of some of these people, like having relatives that complain about someone's hair, but then, oh, you need something to eat or money for gas, whoosh, they just vanish. And I was saying it's really disturbing because what they're doing is LARPing as though they are concerned for your well-being, or I guess, cosplaying like they're concerned for your, your well-being with all this crap about hair and clothes and all the rest of this trash. But then when you actually need something essential and you're like, "Hey, can you assist me with this?" and they don't do it, then it shows you that they're full of crap. "Hey, I care so much about you." "Oh, there's a thing you need to survive? Well, you're gonna have to get it some other way." Yeah, I had one of my relatives get mad at me back in December and shout that they hated me, and I smiled because it was the first time they had spoken an honest word. Like that was the first thing they had said, and I don't know how many years that I actually truly believed. I said for you to treat someone the way that you have, not assist them with anything that they actually need, try to extract stuff from them at the same time. You won't help them with anything in a tangible way. I do believe I see the hatred. It just appears and comes off from you in waves. When they said they hated me, I smiled. I would rather have people honestly dislike me than deceitfully say they're fans of mine or that they like me or whatever. I they just tell too many lies. It's funny how I went through so much stuff to get another visor, and it's just like over the last several months, I wear it a lot less than I used to. Because I remember one time I went to the job and I made the mistake of drinking an energy drink and having some milkshake earlier in the day, and they just messed my. I was having the biggest headache, and I put the visor on because many times I've had headaches, and it's had to do with like lighting. And I had must be four, five, six, seven, eight different people. What's with the shades? What's with the shades? What's with the? I was like, just stop, just stop. Oh, they're so weird. They see one change to your appearance, and they act like it is the most dynamic, altering gesture they've ever seen. So weird. What's with the shades? Just go. No, some of the stuff I've been seeing on this site recently has been kind of annoying me. Like I clicked on this one video and it was about this news story where there was an 8-year-old girl about I think 11 years ago who was abducted from this mall uh and yeah. So I clicked the video because I'm assuming the whole video it's like 40 minutes. It's like okay, the whole video is going to be about this case. And I kid you not, it's about halfway through the video when they start talking about some couple in another town and just some completely unrelated crap. And I'm like, how do you do that where you make a video where the title is this one thing and then it's only about that for like half of it or even less than that. Like imagine if I took I don't know, let's say I make a video, it's called Dragon Ball episode 100, and then you click it, and it's 40 minutes, right? And it's episode 100, and then right after that, it switches over to Digimon. Like, God, people are so deceitful. And I clicked on it. It kind of, I'm not gonna say excited, but I remember that case. I've seen other people, I guess, other channels like talk about it. It's like, oh, what are they saying here? And they showed a little bit of stuff I'd never seen before, some recordings and whatnot. I was like, man. Why couldn't they just put this up as a 20-minute video instead of adding on another 20 minutes of something that has nothing to do with the first half? Just weird. But I said before, I feel like I live in an era that is defined by things that are weird. When it comes to the way that people act, the stuff that they have tolerance for, the stuff that they don't have tolerance for. I mean, when you see a parent that would rather feed an animal than their own child, when you see coworkers who will try to get somebody in trouble for standing next to them or calling them a goofy nickname, when you see a job that will make food and knowing that they're not going to use this food, throw it away without even asking the people that helped them make it, would you like some to take home? And that was always the thing I touched on. I was like, they talk about, oh, you're a socialist and you want to turn the US into Venezuela. I said, what's wrong with the idea that if people are working, right? They're working, they're doing this work for your company wouldn't even be able to perform its functions without its employees. What is so bad about the employees being able to take home some food that you guys weren't going to sell to anybody anyway? Like what? Like I don't understand why I'm wrong for thinking that that's like something that should be allowed. It's like, sorry, I'm hungry. Maybe I wouldn't be so damn hungry if I didn't have to drive 60 miles just to work here and burn through 30 or $40 of gas every week. Then again, maybe I wouldn't be hungry if the people who claim to care so much about me would help me to pay for food. So that's another thing. It all just adds up. You see some stuff and it just makes you sick to your stomach. Because like I don't have any kids. I don't think I ever will because as I've said before, there seems to be this recurring theme where a lot of the women who say they like me, which I don't believe because they tell so many damn lies, but a lot of the ones who claim to like me say they don't want to have kids, and that's like more incentive to just think this is just never going to happen for me because people only have them apparently by accident. Um, but I could not imagine like I'm not even trying to be funny. I could never imagine creating another life and just having nothing to do with it. Like if I had a son or a daughter, and whether they're underage or of age, whether like a kid or an adult, to know that they have my number or they know where I live, they can contact me anytime they want theoretically, but they never do. And this goes on for a year or almost 2 year. I would feel bad. I would feel like a failure as a father because it's like I truly believe most children, most people, right, are predisposed to like their parents. We don't want to just despise the people who are the direct cause of us being here. But man, like you see this stuff and like with some of these people, there is no self-awareness. There is no ability to go, if my son or my daughter doesn't want to talk to me, doesn't want to call me, doesn't want to reach out to me, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I need to s- s- say something to them. Maybe I need to go, "Hey, look, I don't enjoy not speaking to you. This has gone on for too long. I'm your father. I can't just pretend you don't exist. I can't just have nothing to do with you." But some people are so goddamn psychotic that they can just reproduce, pop out the kid, have as little to do with it as possible, and it just doesn't affect them. And I can't understand it. Like, look, I've said before, people have been on a moral decline for a very long time. Um, they go and they have these kids, and they're not trying to have these kids. It's all coming about from them just being careless. But people who are careless, if they are morally decent, I guess first of all they wouldn't be careless, but even if if they've committed an act which is careless, which is selfish, um, I believe most of them will try to right their wrong. Okay, look, maybe I wasn't trying to have a kid, but they're here. I can't just let them starve or send them off to some orphanage. I mean, I'm around. I'm physically capable. Like, okay, let's try this. With some of these people, they in their minds create any excuse to just not do a damn thing. You're an adult. I don't owe you anything. And it's like the same people who would say stuff like this will sit there just baffled at why you want nothing to do with them. It's interesting. And it's funny because there are so many pitfalls that a person can have as a parent. Like having a kid with someone that you thought of, a desire to be in a relationship with, which seems to just be happening so much more than ever before. Um, the worry, right, that in the aftermath of this failed romance, the partner will try to like turn the kid against you. Oh, we'll see, you know, uh, you're with me because your dad doesn't want you or your mom doesn't want you. Usually the mom that does that trash, but regardless. And I said, how crazy is it that like you can completely destroy your image in the eyes of your progeny, your child, and be completely fine with that? Hey, son or daughter that I have the number of and know how to reach in 15 different ways. Time to just not speak to you for a whole year. And sometimes, and like I've sat here watching this stuff. I'm like, what is the end game here? Do you think someone is going to like? Because if you ask these people, and of course they're liars, but if you ask them, they will tell you, "Oh yes, I'd love to have a relationship with my son or daughter that I don't speak to." But they're not doing anything to try and cause that. They're just sitting hand and foot, ignoring this person, pretending they don't exist. And I guess they think that at the end of treating their offspring like garbage, they will suddenly be vindicated by the child running back to them for help. It's just sad, man. It makes me sad for several reasons. One is that, as I said before, I don't think people like I'm not trying to say when someone has bad parents, they're automatically like doomed and that's it for them. But I believe most, or I'll put it this way, um, there is a higher chance for someone to have success if they come from people who are well-meaning and actually doing things to assist them. I can think of plenty of families of a well, I'm not gonna say that, but plenty of families where, for example, they'll have a house that's, like, not even that big, and they'll have one person sleeping in the front, 2 people sleeping in the back, 1 sleeping right by the damn bathroom, and they're all pitching in to rent so they can all maximize the amount of money they have to go and do whatever stuff that they wanna do. They don't have this divide and conquer mentality of, "Oh, here's my offspring. I will leave them to be on their own." Seriously, I don't know how people do stuff like that and sleep at night. It's really sad to me that human beings can just look at someone they created and say, "Oh, that's my child? So what? Big deal." Serious, that stuff really scares me because there's some behaviors that people engage in that I don't find to be human. Like, I know people technically are humans because they breathe, they eat, all the rest of that stuff, but I'm saying that if you can what's a way of putting it? I guess it's like this. I know that people, for the most part, don't care about other people. It's why we can see someone, laying out in the street with nowhere to live and not give a damn. It's why we can, I mean, you see it at my job, throw away perfectly good food instead of giving it to the people that made it for us because we're evil. But there's always an inherent idea that the people who are expected to care about you the most are your family, the people who you share blood with, DNA, et cetera, et cetera. They're supposed to be the ones who are the most concerned about you. In some cases, they're expected to be the only ones who are concerned about you. But the truth is, that is not the case for a lot of um, people. And it's just sad, man. Serious, I just think about all these alternate scenarios. Like, what's the point of being a parent if you have nothing, like no relationship with your child? What's the point of being a parent if your kid doesn't want to see you? Hell, what's the point of being a parent if you just are like you can't do anything for your son or daughter? Like, why are you there? Plus, a lot of this stuff just it's so pointless. The way that people act, the things they're willing to do and unwilling to do, it all is extremely demoralizing. So I said, I just can't understand the logic of it. Even when I had the whole like car thing happen, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, however long ago it was. Um, I sent one of them a message and I was like, "Hey, do you know when this thing is going to get turned back on?" Because I had tire explode on me. I was stranded out there, which is true. And no response. And it's like, These are the same people who want you to believe that they care about you, right? They use the word love so much. And here's one of them being informed that you were, because the other one didn't pay a phone bill, left with no way of getting your car fixed and having to like do this crazy dangerous thing to even get it out of the way of people and they don't care. They say nothing because to them you are nothing. Again, I don't understand the point of family if they're going to do stuff like that. Like I have relatives that I call and or go to see, right? Check on, see how they're doing. And so imagine how much better of a family somebody would have if they just if people just did something as simple as that. Because I had people who in the past were like, this costs too much and I can't help you pay for all that garbage, right? But I've noticed that even the things they can do theoretically for free, they still wouldn't bother with doing. I remember that whole years long saga of me not having a job, right? And what was the line that kept being used? "Oh, you're lazy. You're lazy. You don't do anything. You're lazy. You're lazy. You're lazy. You're lazy. You're lazy. You're lazy." You just repeated ad nauseum. And isn't it interesting that out of all those years of being attacked, maligned, crapped on, treated like this piece of garbage, not a single one of these jerks decided to ever assist me with getting a job. Now, of course, I had relatives who understood that it was not easy to get a job, right? It's a lot easier to get fired than hired. So it wasn't like I had like some big giant group of 12 people saying this nasty stuff, but it was the same couple, right, every year. And I always said, if you guys were so bothered by it, why don't you help me? Because they don't care. That was the answer. They don't care. It's the same thing with the college stuff where it's like people tell you to go to college, and then when you actually get into a university, they start singing the "I don't have any money" song, and then you can't go to the school that they claim you needed to go to survive. Because again, this stuff is all just for show. People want to put on the image of caring about your future and all the rest of this garbage that they don't actually believe in. Like it's just theatrics. I can look like a good parent if I tell people that my child is going to this school, but I'm also a crappy one, which is why I have no money to assist them with going to this school. Oh man, everything is just so fake. We are in an era of scams. What did I title the stream again? I forgot. Already, I know it's only been 30 minutes, but I already forgotten. I have a very bad memory. Progress. I should rename it the era of scams. Everybody wants you to believe something that they say. Just like I still have some of these girls in my job. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're one of my." One of them said I was one of her favorite people, and every time they do that laugh and smile and stuff, I'm just thinking, I know what you're doing. I'm not gonna have another one of you try to get me in trouble like mixed signals queen. No, 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 no. Everybody wants to pretend they like you, but then when you let your guard down, there they go with that knife, ready to plunge it right through you. You always have to be careful and mindful of what are they doing, why are they looking at you this way, what's the intention here. I had this one manager at my job call me pessimistic, and I said, at this point, it's just a given that when I look at a lot of things, I'm just not excited. Because I look at patterns, and if this has happened before, I tend to not be as inclined to. think something better will happen. But also sometimes I think pessimism, you know, can be, I don't want to say virtuous, but beneficial. I brought up earlier that there was this video I watched, right? The one with the girl who was abducted 11 years ago. And what always stood out to me about that story was that the mom who was poor had some guy that agreed to buy the girl something, and then she let the daughter go off with the guy to, I guess, McDonald's, and they actually went to his van. And I was thinking to myself, because with me, I'm just again pessimistic. There's no way in hell I would let my kid leave my sight to go with a stranger to wherever. Um, and it's like, if she were more pessimistic and less trusting of someone that gives her some free stuff, her daughter would still be alive. I'm serious. When you go to these public places where anybody can just enter in and put on whatever face they want to put on, you have to look at stuff with a bit of, well, with a lot of caution. You don't know these people. They can turn out to be whatever. And I think that if the mother hadn't have been so stupid, her kid would still be here. It's not the fault of the child that they were trusting. It's the fault of the mother for not properly looking after her kid. Child is nothing but my sympathy. Yeah, I was in on I logged into Discord earlier tonight and I saw the one of the chicks that was in the Discord women video. She was in some call. It was the one that unfriended me for asking when she'd be online again. I just sat there and waited to see if I think she was in the call for like 2 minutes. Mm. Who the hell is this? Oh, some other new character has appeared. But no, I just generally try to stay off of these sites now. Too much drama and stupidity. Mm. And at a certain point, I just get tired of people acting dumb. Like if you're gonna be this stupid, just do it on your own. But no, a big part of that video is just like really pondering the question of what's the point. I mean, and I always have to make sure, and I haven't even put this in the script yet, but I have to make sure there's a line where I say, I don't expect to have some perfect life or for everything to go the way you want, but it's like when it seems like nothing is going the way you want, um, it's not hard to see where you would become disenfranchised, disillusioned, disinterested in living, etc. Because like there's stuff I made peace with, right? Like I don't need some giant, enormous channel. I don't care if I get one, but it's whatever. But even like basic stuff, like People shouldn't have to work 2 jobs just to survive. They shouldn't have to talk to 150 million women to get a date or, just I mean, it's nuts. They shouldn't have to, have muscles to talk to somebody on the computer. Like, this stuff just gets stupid. Mm. Oh, boy. But, like, I know I don't see the sun coming out already. It's not even 4 o'clock yet. Yeah, seeing notifications on here is really interesting, just how much I just turned all this stuff off. I should also say I was on Amazon yesterday and they were selling some, I think it was like a gown for like 10 bucks, where they give you one of those like 50% off coupons. They already lowered the cost on something by like I think 30%, and then they give you something that lowers it even more. When they make stuff that cheap, it's hard to turn away from it. It really is. I fully acknowledge that. No, I just keep thinking more and more about how screwed up everything is. I mean, relationships really have reached their like furthest point of deterioration. If we're stuck in an era where people can't even talk to each other without trying to block somebody for saying they missed them, or trying to say someone is bothering them by asking them how they're doing. It's gotten so toxic. And that's actually another, because I have a little section about this in the video too. I was like, the sad part about relationships is that when you actually get ones that are not crappy, they can be very fulfilling. If we're speaking strictly in terms of romance, I've seen plenty of couples in either real life or historical ones where you can see where the man and woman were benefited by being with each other. I talked about, I had this one supervisor, one of my old jobs, who she and her husband had some joint bank account where they both work and they both put money on it, and it's like their two incomes, making it easier for them to afford their place. And that's clearly a couple where both sides are getting something out of being together. They're better together than they would be if they were separate. Um, if we're talking about, you know, non-romantic relationships, I mean, I've mentioned my friend and various other relatives, uh, including ones I couldn't live without. And it's just sad to me that things have become so depraved that if you simply come online and say, listen, I was talking to this one lady, I did really like speaking to her, and I felt like she led me on, and then she just snapped at me, and now we don't speak anymore. You can say something as simple as that, And you'll have these guys, well, maybe she didn't act the same way all the way through because you are ugly. Like, that's why I just throw my hands up and just say, forget it with some of this stuff. Like, you just can't take it seriously. You can't take these women seriously, and you can't take their seals seriously either. Everybody's just full of crap. I couldn't even imagine like meeting someone that would mutually pay for stuff because again, you're just surrounded by gold diggers. I mean, everyone's trying to get some come up off of you. Mm. So, yeah, it just looks like a lot of this stuff isn't the way it's supposed to be. But no, relationships when they're at their best, they can be very fulfilling. I mean, I can't remember how many times my grandma would ask me to go somewhere and I would just go. I didn't care if it was to go to the market or get something to eat or handle some business with people. Just to be by her side was all I wanted. Same thing with my grandpa, same thing with my friend, same thing with my little brother. So I said I just want better relationships. Like, and again, I accept that the chicks are just toxic, and again, they're enabled by these guys that don't hold their feet to the fire, that never will um, revolt against them in such a number as to make it to where they have to change. But it's just it's just sad. I'm serious. I ask what good are relationships if all they do is make someone miserable? Like what is the benefit of talking to a group of people who in most instances do not give you what you want, who are used as ammo for people to attack you? I mean, I don't see what I have to get out of speaking to them anymore. That's why we initiated the zero women plan where we just barely have anything to do with them. I have one right now, who I was talking to, and she said, "Oh, I'm busy at work," and I haven't gotten a response from her in I think about a week now. Let me see. It's gotta be somewhere over a week at this point. Like she's online right now. She, you know, playing some game. But it's like, am I going to pursue her and ask like, "Hey, I've been trying to message you. Where you been?" No, because again, what's the point? See, the problem is that if you say anything and then it doesn't go well, right? The seals will say the IO should have given her space. And then if I don't say anything and she just decides to unfriend me, which is something they've done before, um, then the seals will say, "Oh, well, you should have fought more aggressively or been more uh, drastic, been more assertive." So either way, you just can't win. Yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks. Not surprised. That's all these people know how to do is just ignore somebody. That's their only skill. Oh man, got this pillow right here in my backside. Still feels pretty rough. Mm. But no, I really think about relationship stuff quite a bit when I see people. Because I try to explain that at this point, some things just aren't enough. Like, it's not enough to have somebody say they like you. It's not enough to have someone say if they live hundreds of miles away that they want to go on a date with you or be a couple or whatever. It's just not enough. There just needs to be more tangible results for me to feel any incentive to keep up with this stuff. That's why I said so many things are just utterly pointless. I really, really like you, person that I am going out of my way to not say anything to for 2 weeks almost. And this won't be like the one that was in that Discord women video. I'm not writing any message, no elaborate thing. It's like it. I'm just apathetic towards the whole process. Everything's just convoluted for the sake of being convoluted. Mm. Yeah, I'm just I also make an attempt to not sound depressed with a lot of stuff, but I just have an idea of what relationships should be like, and if they're not reflective of that, I'm not going to be happy, or at least I'm going to be less inclined to be satisfied with the way things are. I guess that's the more proper way to put it. But even with a lot of the family stuff, it's like, maybe I base it off my own situation. Um, but when people don't want to do something that is beneficial to someone that's not them, they'll look for reasons to, not do it. Um, and what's difficult for a lot of these parents is that on some subconscious level, I'd say most of them know that they should be there for their children. So they have to create in their minds, or at least in the things they espouse to their children, reasons for why they cannot be more involved with them. Some of these parents will feign financial insecurity, right? Oh, I just don't have the money for it, and then they're over there buying animals and and shoes that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But yeah, they definitely don't have the money for it. And other ones will just flat out say that they don't think they owe their child something, even though their child is only existing because of their decision. So when I see stuff like that, it really makes me sad because just imagine like a child in that scenario. Two crappy parents. The two people who brought you into the world couldn't care less about you whether you're alive or dead, and you're just supposed to. And look, I'm not some psychiatrist. I'm not some therapist. I don't claim to have some window into people's souls, but there's just such an inherent selfishness, and I guess maybe that's why I've always been of the belief that like every this one person wrote a really good comment that I saw earlier today. It was every child needs a parent, but not every parent needs a child, in the sense that kids do need parents, but some of these people who have kids are just not equipped to be parents. And that's for a variety of reasons. They don't have the personality to do it. They don't have the sense of sacrifice that a parent should have for the betterment of their own child. Um, and I do think a lot of parents are extremely selfish. I've said that before. I think a lot of them get off on like, well, I had this baby by this woman, and oh, she wants me to pay this, but I don't feel like it. Well, her and her kid I didn't want. Who cares? And then, if the mother is equally dumb, she will, not do things and mess the kid up even more. It's just sad because again, these people know damn well that these kids only exist because of them, and they still can justify not doing anything. My child is an adult. That means they shouldn't expect to be assisted by their parent for the rest of their life. And again, you're just wondering what their end goal is. Like, do you think the kid that you abandon is going to look back in 5, 10, 20 years at you with any sense of happiness, of decency? Like, again, in a hypothetical where I had kids, if I abandon one of them, just don't assist them with anything, don't try to reach out to them, nothing. I can't imagine my kid is going to think well of me. But I guess for these people, they just don't think about that, or they don't care. I mean, it's one or the other. It's just really scary. Mainly for the kids, and also the fact that like people that insane are able to just have kids, like able to just make children. There are some really heartless bastards in this world, and they are bringing more people into the world who they are not going to do anything for, who they are going to treat subparly. It's just stuff when you hear and see some of the stuff I've seen and heard. It just makes your stomach turn. No, if I wanted to, I could just do a whole set of videos about crappy parents. Like, you don't even have to be like one of the evil parents that's taking out their kids. It could be something as simple as your negligent actions led to your child's demise or some other activity. Like, I remember that one 8-year-old boy he was either 8 or 9 in Chicago who was gunned down, and his mother took the money that people gave to her GoFundMe to go and buy a new car. And she was mad that we saw the new car, and called her out for it. Yeah, y'all people is crazy. And I just put my hand over my face. I was like, man, this little boy. Could you, like, again, it's just put yourself in perspective. Imagine if your child was just taken away, and by the grace of people's goodwill, they donated what had to be at least thousands of dollars. And you take that money that these people did not have to give to you, that they gave to you because they wanted your child to be buried, final resting place, respect, whatever, etc., and you use it to buy a car. And again, I just keep thinking about, like, if I had an 8-year-old, I couldn't imagine having the child just walk the streets. Because I know when I was 8, I didn't when I was 8, the only place I went to was school, and if I went any other place, I was always accompanied by, a relative, so it's just hard to imagine, especially in that city, like, Southside Chicago is known for being a bloodbath. That place is the last one you'd want. I probably would be afraid to walk over there, in all honesty. And it's like here's this lady, she just lets her kid walk around there. He gets destroyed by some monsters, and the whole thing is just so gross. But like I was saying, a lot of these tales, when I relay them, they're part of a narrative I've noticed where you got some story where there's a part there's a large chunk of it that's like really sad, right? Because the regular single mother thing is something we've seen 100 times over, but there's like a part of the story that's really sad, and then the mother does something stupid or screwed up that just it makes you go from sympathizing, going, "Oh man, this poor lady lost her son, daughter," to, well, I mean, no wonder your child ended up meeting the fate that they did when they have someone as negligent as you as their parent. Because I do think that another role of the parent should be to protect their child. And I can't imagine a scenario where I've got an 8-year-old son or daughter and they just walk the streets, or they're just hanging out on the court playing basketball. Like I said, man, we live in a country where there's daily mass shootings. Like, just every day somebody takes a gun and just shoots someone, and you really want to, like, have your kid roaming around out there in that war zone. Mm. And of course, we get back to the one that had the daughter that disappeared. It's like, I have had strangers offer to buy me things in the past, without provocation, because I don't beg. And I've always appreciated those gestures. But regardless of that, I again can't see a scenario where I let a stranger take my underage child somewhere without my supervision. I just don't see that. Truth is, most kids just don't have a way to protect themselves, and they need their parents to protect them. Parents need to be there for their kids, and if they're not there, then there's a good chance something bad, or even worse than bad, will happen to the child that they claim to, care so much about. There's just so much stuff that's wrong. Like, it can be overwhelming just thinking about all the things that are not the way they're supposed to be. I mean, why do people who don't care about their kids get to have kids? I don't understand that. But then someone who's like, "Hey, if I ever have them, let's plan this out, right? Meet some woman that wants to do the same thing." Impossible. It's just closed off to you forever. And if you come on here and you're like, "Hey, I wanted to, have a family and do other basic things with a woman," you are this word and you're part of this group. I'm like, man, come on. Like, are you serious? That's another point in the video I make of just lamenting that we can't have an honest conversation about just the most basic of stuff. Like when I was a kid, I remember my dad's friends talking about just dumb stuff the different women they dated were up to, and of course, you go online, you'll find women talking trash about men every day. And it's like, how is it that one group, the latter, can just speak totally unfiltered about their disdain or issues with men, but then if men attempt the same thing when talking about women, it suddenly is cause for controversy and people trying to argue you down and have these debates, and sometimes they don't even like respond to what you're saying. They get off into these tangents of all types of other crap, and just like all of this opposition because somebody said, "Hey, I wanted to do this thing and it didn't happen," and now I'm kind of a little upset over it. Like, it's nuts to me. Hmm. No, but I've always thought about the hypothetical of having a kid. I mean, again, even like the most, because I understand with parents that not it's not all just fun and games. There's a lot of disciplining. I've always thought the most effective punishment is to just take away things that the kid enjoys and offer incentives for when they do something good. So it's like very clear that when you actually do good things, you get good results. Like, hey, you studied today for 5 hours, like I told you to. Okay, we can go get ice cream tomorrow. That kind of stuff. Just offer little incentives here and there. Um, but man, it's like I don't even try to make this political, but I always think about like TR's dad and just how involved he was with him, and taking him fishing and skiing, not skiing, but just all the different like activities where he just really mentored him both in terms of physical stuff and also just his mind as well. And I always wanted something like that. When you have a parent that just, really tries to understand what does my kid like to do? And at the same time is like trying to get them like say, hey, here's this other thing I think is interesting. Here's the other thing we can go and do. Like really make them well rounded and just seems to like actually have a damn interest in their child. Like that's another problem. I see so many parents who have kids that they have nothing to do with, and even if they live with them, they don't talk to them. They don't. Hey, want to go to the movies together? Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Are you writing something? Are you on Discord? Are you, just they don't take an interest. They don't care, and it drives me nuts because children at their when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are the years where they're the most impressionable. They're the most able to just like a sponge just absorb the things around them. You can tell a kid something or teach a kid something at 7, 8, 9, 10 that an adult at 30 or 40 is going to have a harder time remembering. It's like I don't expect children to know everything, but that's why the adults are there. They should be encouraging them to know more things, to try different things. Like I love it when a parent can look at their kid and say, "You will be better than me. You will know everything I know. You will learn other stuff as well." Um, you will be given opportunities I was not given. That's why when I see a lot of these other people who have families where, again, they live together, they combine their resources so that these ridiculous housing costs don't, drive them out of onto the streets or whatever. When I see parents that actually pay for their kid to go to school, because they want their kid to have a better life or education or the piece of paper or whatever. I know that there are some parents that still at least seem to care. And my only regret is that there are not more of those because I think a lot of people would be better off if they had that. Parents should give their child opportunities. They should be there for their kid. I mean, it's something we could go on for another hour or so about just all the different ways that people have really fumbled the bag when it comes to the basic things we expect them to do. But I don't know what happened to Dio. I think he went and vanished and got a new hobby, went to a different stream. So I'm gonna wrap this up and thank him for showing up, and I will be back. I think on Monday because on Monday I don't work. So thanks for showing up, and have a good rest of your weekend.